In today's equity index futures markets, let's take a look at the NASDAQ futures today as they're realizing some strength here to finish out the day, although barely hanging on to a gain here as we move towards the close. They are still green on the session, with most of the other equity index futures markets now in the red. And we did see, again, some volatility today. We did see the NASDAQ futures significantly higher at one point, just under 2% now, but now just up about 25 basis points or 1/4% here with some selling pressure late in the session. And I want to point out, when you look at the NASDAQ futures, the intraday low today, it had traded to the lowest levels basically in almost a little over 7 weeks. You have to go back to January 7th to see the NASDAQ futures trading at the levels they did earlier in the session today. So again, some weakness here, even though we're finding the ability to stabilize, nonetheless, still at the lower end of the range for the last 2 months. Looking at some of the factors, I think, playing into why we're seeing, again, the dynamics in the equity index futures markets. Interest rate volatility is having an impact. We did see the 10-year spike up from a yield standpoint to 155 basis points, then settling back down to about 144 basis points today. But nonetheless, some significant volatility there is having an impact on the pricing at equity markets, I believe. Couple that with, I think, also some value seekers possibly coming into the market, particularly when we look at the mega cap names. We did see Apple, Microsoft, and Facebook all finish higher on the session, and most throughout the session, those names were outperforming the market for the better part of today, and I think that helps support the NASDAQ futures, particularly relative to some of the other equity index futures markets. I also want to point out, when you look at the volumes here, we are seeing a big pickup in volumes, particularly in the micro E-mini NASDAQ futures. We did see record volume there yesterday of 1.9 million contracts trading, and we're pushing right back up there today. We're right around that 1.9 million contracts. It'll be interesting to see if we actually take out that volume point yesterday. But for 2 consecutive days in the micro E-mini futures markets, we're seeing significant volume and trading activity.